Hey folks, and welcome to CarStarz' 10 Cool Facts about the rental 71 Ford Mustang Mach 1 in the 1971 Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. Fact number 1. There were multiple 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1 sports roof cars used to portray the rental car in the film. The Mustangs were sourced directly through Ford, which gave the movie a fresh performance model that was still new enough to feel current on screen. It was a brand new version of the Ford Mustang being pushed directly into a major action role, a solid advertising play by Ford. The exact number of Mustangs used for the film has never been pinned down with a clean paper trail, and that point gets a little messy for a number of reasons. Director Guy Hamilton said there were 3 cars, while other accounts recall as many as 8. That car count uncertainty is due primarily by the way the cars were sourced. They were not part of a single neat special order movie batch with a complete list of VINs. Ford supplied cars from available stock, which gave the production what it needed quickly and made Ford happy to get its new Mach 1 into a high-profile film action scene. The filmmakers needed several matching red 71 Mach 1s that could cover the required driving scenes while still looking like one continuous vehicle on screen. Ford had every reason to want to maintain the supply to production as needed to keep the Mustang looking good and indestructible on screen, because the Mach 1 was one of their big showroom products being pushed hard at the time. So the car's movie identity began as a very practical arrangement for both sides. Fact number 2. Under the hood, the 1971 Mach 1 engine range used on screen covered a wide array of V8 power. At the low end, the 302 Windsor was rated at 210 gross horsepower, and at the middle range, there was the most common on set, 351 Cleveland rated at up to around 300 gross horsepower. That gave the Mach 1 lineup a decent power spread as a base, from a milder V8 car to Cleveland powered. However, the biggest power plant used in the film Mustangs was the legendary 429 Big Block. The 429 Cobra Jet was rated at 370 gross horsepower and a hefty 450 pound-feet of torque. In 1971, the Mach 1 still had access to unrestrained big block Ford power right before more strict regulations swept in to put a damper on things not long after, and the 429 versions gave the car the kind of factory punch that made it feel genuinely aggressive and intimidating on screen and off. As for the transmission choice for the several Mustangs used in the film, surviving documents state the Mustangs were fitted with Ford's C6 automatic option, a tough 3-speed transmission built to handle big V8 power. No verified film Mustang has surfaced with a manual transmission anyway, which makes good sense, of course. An automatic could launch smoothly, repeat the same movement take after take, and keep the car easier to control for both the actor-driven scenes and for the stunt driver's tricky stunt work also. Fact number 3. For 1971, the Ford Mustang moved into its final first-generation body style change, and it was a very different animal from the earlier Mustangs within the same generation. The wheelbase stretched to 109 inches, the body grew longer and wider, and the whole shape looked lower, heavier, and more substantial. Ford still offered the hardtop convertible and sports roof body styles, but the sports roof carried the strongest performance image with its long hood and sweeping roofline. The design was built to accept big engines, especially the 429, which helps explain the broader front end and tougher stance. The visual presence changed significantly with the new body. The 1971 to 1973 Mustang could wear the dramatic NACA-style dual-scoop hood, a honeycomb-style grille, sport lamps, hood locks, side stripes, rear spoilers, front spoilers, color-keyed mirrors, and Magnum 500 wheels. The Mach 1 package added the attitude people remember most, with aggressive striping, lower body treatment, upgraded trim, and a more serious road presence than a plain sports roof. Inside, buyers could get high-back bucket seats, a center console, deluxe trim, fold-down rear seating, tachometer instrumentation, and other comfort or convenience options. It was still a Mustang, but it had moved away from the simple compact pony car feel and into a flashier grand touring muscle style. The option list also shows how broad the late first-generation Mustang had become. A buyer could choose mild engines like the 250 inline-6 or 302 V8, then move up into the 351 Cleveland range, with 2-barrel and 4-barrel versions offering a much stronger bite. In 1971 only, the 429 Cobra Jet engine sat at the top of the list, making that year the last big block Mustang of the original generation. Transmission choices included manuals and automatics, with the heavy-duty C6 automatic paired to stronger V8 applications. By 1972 and 1973, emissions rules, insurance pressure, and changing horsepower ratings were already softening the muscle era, which makes the 1971 version feel like the last hard swing before the curtain started coming down on the original muscle car era. Fact number 4. The Mustangs were purposely kept looking like just regular stock showroom Fords, not some custom movie prop. Unlike most vehicles driven by Bond in the Bond films, there were no gadget panels, fake weapons, special bodywork, or hidden hydraulics added to transform it into something else. That identity was maintained mainly for Ford product placement purposes, and of course because, in the context of the film, the Mustang was merely a rental car, and not actually a Bond car. It simply appears like a new 1971 Mustang Mach 1 being driven hard. The production leaned on the car's factory attitude, the long sports roof profile, scooped hood, striping, sport mirrors, and bold front end. The visual job was plain and simple. Make all the film Mustangs look the same at distance, while different cars with various setups actually handled different parts of the chase. The stunt cars may have appeared like showroom Mach 1s from the outside, but the harder working cars were not just completely untouched street cars. The visible bodywork stayed clean while the practical prep stayed hidden, where the camera would not draw attention to it. Some stunt cars were equipped with roll bars and other structural reinforcements, which lines up with the kind of safety work needed for hard driving and impact-heavy action. A complete modification list for the Mustangs has not surfaced in records, but the evidence shows a clear split between the factory appearance seen on screen and the hidden preparation needed to push these cars through real stunt work. Hero cars used for calmer driving and closer shots needed to stay as straight, glossy, and undamaged as possible, so the Mustangs would look consistent on screen, but even they took some licks here and there as well. Other matching cars could handle the rougher work, where jumps, hard landings, curb hits, and repeated stunt takes could quickly damage panels or suspension parts. That setup let the sequence keep one continuous rental Mustang identity while spreading the abuse across more than one physical car, and they maintained that illusion quite well considering some of the wild scenes. Fact number 5. Eagle-eyed viewers will spot some of the many little tattletale continuity errors indicating multiple Mustangs being used for the film. One of the major ones is the stunt Mustang used for the parking lot ramp jump scene. In that sequence, the rear of the 302-powered stunt car reveals a single exit exhaust system instead of the dual straight-back chrome tips seen on the rest of the Mustang rear shots in the film. That is not just a tiny shadow or a trick of the angle. Watching that same jump car from the side, there is yet another clue. The left front fender is missing its Mach 1 decal that is present on the rest of the cars also. Another clear visual change shows up during the initial driving on Two Wheel's alley scene car. The Mustang suddenly appears on all black sidewall tires. The white walls that are present on all the other Mustangs are suddenly absent. Of course, the combo of the sharp angle of the car and nighttime low lighting shadowing the tires make this easy to miss for most viewers. The same Mustang also has gaff tape over the chrome grille emblem for some reason that none of the other Mustangs possess. One standout difference on the primary hero car, the one most driven by the actors, is a bit of lingering body damage through some of its screen time. The driver's side quarter panel carries a subtle dent, with a slight bend in the rear bumper tied to the same hit. They do a pretty good job of hiding it in most scenes, since shots, more often than not, are from the passenger side and rear of the car. That minor damage separates it from the Mustangs doing the rougher action later in the chase. Put all of those little difference details together and the reality behind the illusion becomes clearer. One red Mach 1 on screen at any given time, but several, somewhat matched, Mustangs actually performing the work. Fact number 6. The ramp jump stunt has a rougher backstory than the finished smooth-looking shot we see on screen lets on. The stunt driver first hired for the gag could not get the jump completed properly and wrecked several Mustangs trying. By the time seasoned stuntman Bill Hickman was called in, the production was down to one remaining stunt Mustang left for the stunt. Hickman made the jump successfully on his first take. That gives the finished shot a much sharper edge, because the Mustang sailing over those parked cars was not just a simple easy stunt like it appeared to be. It was the single take that saved the scene after numerous earlier attempts had already chewed through prepared cars that the production had a limited supply of. The jump stunt Mustang actually used for the shot itself is one of the largest unknowns in the big chase scene because its identity refuses to fall neatly into place cleanly. The closest paperwork match found for it was a bright red F-code 302 Mach 1 sold through a Burbank dealer, but that sale date came too early to fit with the main group of movie Mustangs. That leaves the jump car in an odd middle ground. It appears on screen for one of the biggest physical stunts in the sequence, yet it does not match the more straightforward direct from Ford paper trails tied to the better documented cars. The body details also argue against the jump car just being some hodgepodge collection of leftover Mustang parts thrown together for one crash shot. That makes the car more interesting than a disposable stand-in. Even in dark, fast-moving footage, it shows enough real Mach 1 style body detail to keep its backstory a bit of mystery that continues to linger on. Fact number 7. I'm sure one thing many of you have been wondering about for years is what's the deal with that driving on two-wheel stunt oddness with the abrupt switch up from driving on the passenger's side wheels to the driver's side wheels that made no sense for the scene? Well, the alley stunt is one of those movie car mistakes that becomes more fascinating the closer you look. The Mustang enters the narrow passage riding on its passenger side wheels with the driver's side lifted into the air. That setup makes visual sense for the entrance because the car needs to squeeze through the narrow gap ahead in a controlled two-wheel balance. But when the Mustang comes out the other end, it is suddenly riding on the driver's side wheels instead. That is not a minor continuity slip. The whole balance of the car has flipped in an unmistakable way that isn't even believable in Bond's world for a non-gadget modified car anyway. The actual reason this happened is that the alley gag was not one uninterrupted stunt from entrance to exit at all. The usable pieces of two separate, not so well coordinated stunts were essentially stitched together to complete the botched scene. The edit asked the viewer to accept that the car somehow changed sides while hidden in an alley too narrow for even normal driving, so they had to come up with a way to at least try to make some kind of sense to the viewer, as it was just too obvious. That birthed the need to create the brief and laughable interior dialogue scene. As silly as it may have been, it was the movie's little band-aid over the error attempt. Instead of showing the Mustang physically change sides from the outside without explanation, the film cuts to inside the car, suggesting that the occupants' shifting of their weight in the car as the implied reason for the orientation change. It is a weak fix, and certainly still not a convincing solution to the problem, but the production was already fed up with all the stunt work problems they have already had and did not want to burn the additional funds and time for yet another reshoot, so that poor patch job was what we got instead. Fact number 8. Not long into post-production, one of the better documented stunt Mustangs from the film, the primary stunt car from the Vegas Strip driving part of the chase, did not get quietly retired into storage or static displays. It went right back to work into the Tournament of Thrills stunt show world, where movie car glamour quickly gave way to hard exhibition work. This was the same kind of traveling arena atmosphere where cars were expected to earn attention in a loud and chaotic way by two-wheel balancing, jumps, drifting, and surviving abuse in front of a crowd. So its early Afterlife was not some glorious velvet rope display. It became a working stunt attraction, still carrying its Bond connection while being used as a live performance machine. That stunt show period explains why that particular Mustang picked up damage and mechanical clues beyond its primary film work. Its front crossmember shows heavy hits, scars that fit years of additional stunt work far rougher than it took from its former film work days. It was also later found with aftermarket stiffer Coney brand shocks, and earlier model Mustang 69-70 shock tower mounts installed, a modification used to fit a beefier shock setup on the newly redesigned 71 model year chassis. The records do not pin every change specifically to the film shoot or the stunt show years, but the early post-film path is clear enough. This former film star was ran ragged for years after. Another film-connected 71 Mustang Mach 1 had a much more common film afterlife for movie cars of that era. Instead of becoming a celebrated display movie prop car, it was left to decay through the 1980s, then bought in 1999 as a donor car. That meaning someone saw it less as a famous movie survivor and more as a parts source for another project. The car's story nearly ended in the most ordinary way possible for an old muscle car: stripped, cut up, and forgotten. The only reason it escaped that fate was the paperwork trail that raised a possible connection to the film. Before that discovery, it had already spent years sinking into the same kind of neglect that claimed countless once famous film cars. Fact number 9. So, are any of the Mustangs from the film still around today, you ask? Well, the strongest known survivor is one of the documented stunt Mustangs, Now residing with the Orlando Auto Museum and Deezer Collection, this is the former stunt show car with the clearest paper trail, connecting it back through earlier owners, the Cars of the Stars collection in England, and its stunt show life after the movie. Among the known film cars, this is the one with the most complete story path from filming to preservation today. Adding even more mystery and unknowns to the film Mustangs, although the primary hero car has a paper identity now, the main hero car itself has not been found. That is a major part of the modern-day story of these film cars, because the car with the most screen time is not the confirmed museum survivor. Other specialty cars from the sequence, including the alley entry Mustang and the odd parking lot jump car, also remain missing. So the present-day picture is uneven. One documented stunt car is preserved, one foundation car has a possible connection, and the most visible screen car's fate is still unknown. For a chase built around one red rental Mustang, the real surviving car trail is far more fragmented. Fact number 10. Looking into the scale model realm, fortunately since classic Bond films and the 71 Mach Mustang are still popular to this day, there have been many scale model replicas of the film Mustang released over the years in various scales, but let's take a look at some of the best ones available currently. If diecast is your lane for model cars, this moderately detailed 1/24th scale Diamonds Are Forever 71 Mustang Mach 1 direct replica from Motor Max should tickle your fancy. There are higher detail diecast versions of this car in 1/18th scale from various brands like Autoworld and Ertl, but they are no longer on the retail market and typically run multiple hundreds of dollars on the resale market though. But the Motor Max model is on the current retail market and can be had for around $34. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to pick one of these up. And for those of you who like to go all out with full details in their scale models and don't mind putting in a bit of elbow grease to get it, this high detail, skill level 5, 1/25th scale, Revel Diamonds Are Forever, 71 Mustang Mach 1 direct replica model kit here will suit you well. These are still available on the current retail market as well and run around $28. I will put a link in the description to where you can get one of these to build up. By the way, folks, I have another film-related and in similar format YouTube channel called Mind Litter. If anyone is interested in hearing more about our favorite movies and TV shows beyond just the cars, such as other behind-the-scenes info, filming locations, and actor-related tidbits and such, I will put a link in the description below for those interested in checking it out. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw here. You guys are all great. See you next time.